Okay, so this is a troubleshooting video on Prezi and what actually happened during our service yesterday on June 3rd when the remote initially was not able to engage Prezi. And we'll start by showing exactly what the MediaTek did. Now the MediaTek defaulted back to our old system when we had an alternate screen by opening up Prezi Next in the web browser. We don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore because we don't have an alternate screen to drag it onto as a reference. So we opened up the presentation through the browser, and then because there was no screen, had to drag it across both screens onto the extended desktop onto the projector, and had to leave the projector unmuted. So this is what the congregation was actually seeing in real time. Maximize the screen. Now the key to this is that he cannot touch any other buttons. He can't click off the browser now because, as you see, it disengaged the Spotlight tool. Just to verify that the Spotlight tool was paired with the computer, you'll see under the Bluetooth settings that it's actually paired. It was still working, but because we had clicked off of the browser, because we had opened up in the browser, not the desktop app, it had disabled that feature. What I'm going to show you next is actually the actions I took in order to assist the MediaTek on Sunday in remedying the situation. Now, when I had approached the media booth, he had already closed out of the browser and muted the projector in order to enable us to determine the issue. I instructed him to open the desktop app as you see displayed here, at which time we clicked on the present button. And normally this works. This goes to the main projector. But as you can see, even here, it's not displaying. We know it's displaying and going somewhere because at the bottom of the screen, it's actually displaying in a minimized window. It's a thumbnail for us to let us know it's actually working. You'll see here in a moment that where it actually went, because the back TV was turned on first, the main presentation went to our stage display in the back. So you might be wondering, why weren't we actually able to see the presentation while the message was going on? And there's a couple reasons for this. First of all, we know it was displaying because of that thumbnail at the bottom. Second of all, ProPresenter was still active. It was not being displayed because we had turned off the output, but what hadn't been disabled in ProPresenter was the stage display option. ProPresenter has been designed, no matter what else is going on with the operating system, to overlap on all other media going on the actual PC. So it's going to essentially cover up everything that we have displayed. So in theory, the presentation was on the back TV, and at the same time, so was the ProPresenter stage display. So you weren't able to see it because the ProPresenter stage display was covering it up. So now what we're going to do is actually show you how we fix and resolve that issue when the presentation is going to the wrong screen. We have to get the outputs displayed in the right order, and we're going to do that by turning them off and then turning them on in the right order. So I'm actually going to close out of Prezi, and then I'm going to walk down to the stage display TV and turn it completely off. So now that the TV is completely off, once I turn it back on, all the outputs, because of the HDMI cable, are going to reset themselves in the correct order. I'm going to restart the Prezi presentation through the desktop app, and it will display correctly. Back in the media booth, hitting present. And now it's on the main screen. A couple reasons for this is HDMI is a thinking cable. When it's powered and signal is going through an HDMI cable, it actually responds and makes decisions. Sometimes it actually stops the signal. And so what happens when you don't turn on the projector or TV in sequence, for instance, if the TV gets turned on first, as what happened on Sunday, the TV got turned on first, the computer recognizes it as the main screen. On ProPresenter, I have the ability to adjust that. I can tell ProPresenter which screen is the main screen. Prezi does not do that for me. It is receiving that HDMI signal and is dependent on that HDMI signal. So, moral of the story is make sure the projector gets turned on first before the TV. Obviously, one of the initial issues with the presentation yesterday was actually with the remote, the Spotlight remote by Logitech. And we've already discussed one of the potential issues that may have caused that. However, we need to come up with a plan in case that happens again. So if that does happen again, there is actually a USB insert at the base of the remote. I've taken it out for purpose of this demonstration, but leaving that with the media booth gives them a secondary option in case the pairing was not perfect with the Bluetooth. But as I'm just showing here, within range, we are able to actually use that USB insert into the USB port on the side of the tower to make all of these changes despite having potential issues with Bluetooth connectivity. As a result of these lessons learned, we've made a slight adjustment to our media presentation standard operating procedures. I'm going to demonstrate those for you in a moment. As a note, the actions I'm going to show you specifically with Prezi occur before service. Once we've turned on the projector first, followed by the TV, we're going to open up Prezi using the desktop app displayed here. Once we're at the desktop app, we're going to hit that play button in the middle of that dashboard, and it's going to project on our projector. Next, what we need to do is bring up the presenter screen. That enables the message speaker to be able to see the slides as they present them in real time on the stage display at the rear of the service. Very carefully, we're going to maximize this window and drag this across the extended desktop, starting with the main projector, dragging it all the way across the screen until it maximizes on the back TV. Physically inspect the stage display to ensure that the presenter view on the stage display is being displayed properly. Next, we're going to open up Pro Presenter as that's the first thing that will need to be presented during the service. So we're going to double click on the desktop app, which will populate the order of service. As we open up Pro Presenter, one of the first things we're going to do is verify that our display options are correct. Going up to the top left corner where it says Pro Presenter, we're going to go down to Preferences. You'll see a series of 3 screens there to include a couple boxes. One of those boxes says Enable Stage Display. The purple box represents the stage display. Also, SD is on that box. Out stands for our output, and we want to make sure those are in the right order. Once we have those in the right order and we've verified that everything's being displayed properly, we're going to go ahead and click on our first song. As our first song is coming up, we're going to click on the output button in the top right, and we can see it's displayed on the main projector. We need to verify, though, that the stage display is actually displaying properly and physically inspect it. Here we verify that our stage display is displaying properly. It's filling up the entire screen with lyrics. As we transition to the message, we need to be able to disable Pro Presenter so that Prezi can actually present. A great time to do this is during the post-worship prayer. Now, the first thing we're going to do is turn off the output for the main presentation. That's going to disable the Pro Presenter presentation going to the main projector. Next, what we need to do in order for the pastor to be able to see the stage display, Prezi display, is to disable the Enable Stage Display option through our preferences. As we're coming out of the sermon, we need to transition back to Pro Presenter for worship. We're going to do this during the closing prayer. We're going to begin by enabling the stage display under Preferences. And once we've clicked that, close out of that box, click on the output for the main presentation, and now lyrics can be displayed on both the main projector and the back TV. When Prezi is displayed correctly, it'll look like this on both the main screen and then the confidence monitor in the back of the church.